It says not started yet. Do I need to enter anything in, or?
Well, perhaps that was cached while I was trying to get it started. So why don't you exit out? Okay, hello everyone. Once again, this is Jorge with Altec, and the purpose of this meeting is to go over the approval process with the new application that Spectrum has adopted now to process the accounts payable, the invoices that will go into AP first, then will get routed to approval, and then you guys will review those using this new application. Now, I included some documentation on a previous email. Did you guys receive it? Basically, it's all the people that were included in that email. I forwarded that as an attachment. So you don't have to follow that right now, so that way you can just kind of like keep your eyes on the screen and just kind of like get familiar with different areas where you as the approver will actually be navigating through in this application. So that's just for you to use for a future reference when you kind of like have the time to practice on your own and before we go live. So now with that said, there in the documentation I included the URL that you're going to be using. So again, this is not a client that will be locally installed on your workstation, right? We're accessing the client via the web. So basically what that means is that for those who don't know, you can access the web client basically from anywhere, right? From any computer that has an internet connection pretty much. So let's say from once when we're going live, they're going to start routing invoices to you guys for approval. Once they say, okay, this is the time, this is the cutoff date, we're going to go live, let's say next Monday, for example, then starting that day, you're going to start logging into this web client. There's no more emails that they're going to be sending you those invoices via email, and then you will print them, sign them, and then scan them, email them back. No more of that once you guys go live. So the scanning is going to be performed by AP. They'll do the initial indexing meaning adding the values for each invoice, such as, invoice number, vendor, amount, GL, and all of those properties. Once that takes place, AP will route it to you guys. You guys will review it, apply an approved stamp, and route it back to them. And it's all within the client, not through an email where you have to, like I said, print it, sign it, and then scan it again. So, with all that said,
this can be done from mobile devices if people want to review documents or rather invoices on their iPads or phones or whatever outside the four walls of our offices.
Actually, this web client can be used again from any computer, but if you don't want to use a mobile device, since you guys don't own the mobile module, it's just a web client, I would rather you guys use like an iPad or something like that, because if you go to the browser on your phone, yeah, you can definitely open it. However, the size, it's meant for a web application, not really for a mobile app. So, we do have that, but you guys don't have that module right now. So it's basically just web client. So, yeah, you can use it. You can open it from your phone. You go to the, Safari. You will open it there. However, if you try to do it from your phone, the view may not be the best, since it's mainly created for a web experience rather than the mobile app. But yeah, you can definitely do it. But if you're going to go that route, try to use like an iPad where, you'll have a better view of the actual browser there. All right, so with that said, after you guys go ahead and open, now also I added that in the documentation. I suggest using Chrome. Sometimes IE, it's kind of like funny the way the security is set up there. Now, nevertheless, you guys are using a secure website. But, I recommend using Chrome. It's kind of like the more user-friendly browser. We have less issues with DocLink web client using Chrome. So, again, I recommend using that. However, you don't have to. You can use any other browser that you like. Just kind of like suggesting that Chrome is known for having the less issues with security, for example. Now, again, you will enter that URL from your browser. Enter the credentials that you currently use to log into your workstation. DocLink will take those credentials. Remember, whatever you're currently using to connect to your computer, those are the same credentials that you will be using to access the DocLink web client. All right, so after you enter your credentials, just go ahead and log in. Alrighty, so that again is optional. I definitely do not recommend saving the password if you're using, someone else's computer, or if you're somewhere, somewhere else where it's not a work computer or your own personal computer. Just remember that. All right, so for now, let's go straight to what you would be doing when you receive those invoices. Before we get to all the details, let's say when AP routes documents over to you for approval, the next morning you will get an email notification letting you know that you have whatever many documents sitting in your workflow status waiting for you to review those. All right, so you'll get an email in the morning that will be kind of like you to go into the web client and review your status, because most likely that means that you have documents that are waiting for you to review. So your review will look something like this. It'll look something like this. You will go to the Workflow tab. From there, you only have access to the AP Approver workflow, so you will only see that. You will also only see the workflow status that you've been assigned to, the location you have been assigned to. That's the only thing you're going to see. You're not going to see anyone else's, any other location. So it's basically based on your role. If your role requires you to have additional access, such as another location, then you should see that. So please let us know. For now, I'm I'm still the contact person, but kind of like the bridge between you guys and me, it's either Stephen or Susan, Caitlin, and I think also Christian is going to be the DocLink administrator as well. So you can report any issues that perhaps you're like, hey, I think I should have access to this other workflow status and I only see one. Yeah, just let them know, and then we'll take a look at that, and then we will correct any issues related to access. So again, that's kind of like your view right there. So you have two options. One, either search and open. What's going to happen if you select that one is not only will go into your queue, but it will also open the first document on the list. If you want to review that first, if you don't want DocLink to control what document to open, what if you want to start working on the last one for whatever reason? Then I will, recommend using the search option. Let me see, do I have anything here? I thought I had some documents. Give me 1 second, please. Let me review this real quick. Okay, I'm going to use this for now. All right. Apologize for the inconvenience. Now, it should be there. All right. Now, documents were just sitting in a different status. I apologize for that. It was a mistake on my part. So again, when you open that, you click search. That's the list that you will get, right? You will see, okay, the documents that that were sent to your workflow status. Then what you can simply do is first you can review if you like. This is an AP invoice. It tells you right here document type, the invoice number, document date, vendor, etc. Right? So what you can do is just double click on the first one.
Hi, are you seeing something? Because I'm not seeing anything.
Let me see.
Are you showing us a document? I don't know if anybody else sees it, but I don't see it.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm sharing my.
Yeah, I see the screen share, but we're stuck on this, web page image that you have. I don't see the mouse moving around or anything.
Oh, then perhaps it's just a connection issue. So, all right. Can you guys see it now?
Now I see it.
Okay, perfect. So let me step back a little bit. All right, so I think you guys all saw this, right? I mean, you after you log in, you get this screen right here. You would go to your workflow tab, click search, and those are the documents that that you would have. If you have any, then they'll be there. So what you can do from there is you double click on the first document that you see there. All right. So there's a couple of options here. One is you have your image right here. If you do need to see the actual properties, meaning all the values that AP previously indexed for you, then you can definitely hit the General tab right here, and you will see the values for the property. If you don't need to see that in order to make your decision whether to approve it or not, if all you need to do is just look at the actual image, then there's no need for you to click on the General tab. I'm just letting you know that it is there for you in case that you do need to see the actual details of all the properties that have been captured for this specific invoice. Again, if you don't need to see that to make your decision, you can just simply stay on the Notes tab, review your image, again, your invoice, and it's pretty straightforward. At this point, if you decide to approve it, you can just simply click Approve. So what happens there? The little green check mark gets applied there, which really means approved. The user who applied the note gets also recorded. So right now, of course, I'm actually logged in as a test, so that's why you see that there, but you will see your actual username once you log into DocLink. Next is the date the note was applied, as well as the time. All right, so that's one option right there. The second option is another option that we have available is an info note. What is that? It's like, for example, what if you do approve this document, right? However, for whatever reason, you want AP to hold payment for X amount of days, right? For whatever the reason. So definitely I emphasize to really, and I suggest to really use the DocLink client to actually send any type of messages rather than you using your email. Why is that? Of course, unless it's something that is like an actual email, like a almost letter, whatever, and yeah, of course you're going to use your email. But what I'm saying is quick notes that you would normally write down right now the way you're doing it. Well, in this case, you can still do that, but let's just keep it electronically, right? So that way you don't have to now open your email and say, hey, by the way, I just sent invoice number 109234 for vendor whatever. I approved it, but I would like you to hold the payment for whatever reason. Well, why even do that, right? Why even have to go to the email and drop that up and then send it where you can actually send that message here. So after you approved it, for example, if you need to do this, you can just click on the info tab. Just type in your message, right? So I don't know, for whatever reason here. After you enter your text there, you hit OK, and you see now the same thing happens. The actual user who applied that note gets recorded there, date and time, and of course the message. So that when AP opens this transaction, and I'm going to show you how they're going to get to that, they're going to see this invoice, the image, along with your notes. So the very first thing they're going to have trained them to review is that to make sure that you approved it, right? 2, if there are any messages via info notes. So that is one way that you can definitely relay any messages that way. The last step for you guys as approvers is basically just to route. Why? Because right now, this document, it's sitting in your workflow status and the approver status. So sure, we do need to approve it, but we also need to route it. Because if you forget to route it, let's say if I were just to approve it right now and move to my next document, then guess what? That document, it's still in my queue, and AP does not have a clue whether or not you have approved it. So the last step in this process, after you reviewed it, you approved it, is just basically to send it. Where to? To the approved status in the AP processing invoices. And how do we do that? Just simply click right here where it says send. So let's go ahead and do that. So that document now is no longer in your workflow status. It now has moved to the AP workflow. So from there, they'll take it from there. They'll basically review it, push the data over to Sage, post it, cut it, check. But your job here as an approver, pretty much, of course, unless there's any issues, if everything is pretty straightforward, if everything is good with the invoice, pretty much your job is done there. Just review it, approve it, and route it. Now, before I cover another scenario, are there any questions so far?
No.
Perfect. So now the next one is obviously, what if I need to deny this document, right? Well, it's pretty much the same process, just using a different note. It's pretty obvious right here. So basically, again, let me just repeat that to make sure that we're clear with that. Of course, this is just a very simple test. It was from a notepad, so no image there. But, I mean, there is an image, but not from an actual TIFF or PDF, right? I mean, it's just from straight from notepad. But your image will be here, of course. Then, again, if you do need to see the properties that you have that have been indexed to that invoice, again, you can just simply click on the General tab, and then all the information related to that invoice, it's on this side as well. If you don't, again, you just simply click on the Notes tab. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and deny this document, right? So we're going to go ahead and click on that one. So again, now we have this text in red that when they look at it from the actual client, it'll say denied. In this case, when you apply the note, it just says, you know, we only see the symbol, but it's just that's the way it is designed for the web version. And then again, your user, your date, the date, and the time. In this case, I strongly suggest to definitely use a note on this one. It's kind of like begging the question, right? I mean, if AP gets this into their denied status, they're going to be like, I need more information. Like, why is this being denied? I mean, what if, right? What if they do need more information? Well, so that way they don't have to email you, call you, like, hey, I see I got this invoice from you and it was denied. Why is that? So again, this whole purpose is to kind of like keep the flow moving along and then as efficient as possible. So kind of like try to think ahead, right? It's like, okay, I'm denying this one. Just a quick info note will go a long way right here. So again, I click on the info note and cancel, order, well, whatever the message right here. And again, that would help. AP to know what is actually the reason why you denied that, why you didn't approve it, right? Otherwise, they are going to be calling you and saying, hey, it's like, why is this canceled? I mean, why is it denied? And, all those things. So we just kind of like want to try to stay, one step ahead and just keep the whole thing more efficient, right? So in this case, now I'm going to show you what you would need to do next. By default, the send to is set up to be sent to the approved status, right? Because most of the invoices will get approved. However, since this one is one that we just denied, what we're going to do is instead of sending that one to approved, we're going to send it to denied. So how do we get there? There's a drop down right here, and we manually select the denied status. Once we see that, we're basically ready to click send. Now, even if, for example, the workflow is set up in a way that if you try to send something to the denied status, it must have the denied stamp applied. Otherwise, it will not allow you to send it there, and vice versa for approved. If you meant to send this document to the approved status, however, you're missing the approved stamp, DocLink will not allow you to route it there until you apply the stamp. So really, the rule of thumb right here is whatever stamp you apply to the document will pretty much dictate or will tell you to what workflow needs to be routed to. So approved, obviously, approved status, denied, and you just have to manually select the other status to send it to. And last but not least, after we have gone through the whole, reviewing the image, applying the notes, we select the denied status, then we just click send. And basically at this point, you notice that when I sent the first document, the next one automatically loaded into the document viewer screen, right? Well, that's because it's kind of like, okay, you process one, and then I'm going to give you the next one to process, and until you're done. In this case, there's no more in my list. Now, those two documents are out of my queue, so at that point I can say I'm done with DocLink, at least for today. And that's pretty much the approval process. Next, I'm going to go over how to find those documents, but nevertheless, before I go there, are there any questions?
The only question I have is, does accounting want us to, sometimes we get invoices in, but we haven't received the products yet. Do we leave that in our workflow? Because you only really have approved.
Well, how are you doing that right now without DocLink? How are you handling that right now? Do you keep that in your, let's say, in your email, you keep that on your desk until it's ready to be paid, or you send it to them via email and just kind of like write a note? Hey, I'm waiting for products, so don't process it yet. How do you normally do it right now without DocLink?
Right, that's what I would normally do, is just write to them, I haven't received the products yet, so I don't know what they do on their end, but I'm just telling them these are approved and these other ones are on hold. But they're not denied.
And then obviously when you get the product, then you let them know, hey, now it's ready to, it's okay to pay now? Is that pretty much what you do now?
Then I receive the invoice back and I just sign it and send it over.
Okay, so that's perhaps something that it's a discussion that you're going to have AP with all of you guys, depending on how they want to do that in DocLink, if they want to keep doing the same thing. Because if that is the case, then yeah, you will approve it, add a note saying, hey, this one hold it because I'm still waiting for product, to arrive, but it's approved. But then I don't know if what they want to do is now send it back to you once the product is, or once you let them know that the product is here. I personally, what I've seen in the past with other customers, they actually keep it in their queue, like the approvers. Like you would keep it there until it's really like ready to get paid, right? Or you can still send it, but again, we need to confirm with them if they still want to keep those in their approved status until they get an email from you saying, hey, okay, we got it, it's ready to go. So I'll ask them right now, and they'll basically reach out to you guys or perhaps have another meeting at another time, like a conference call, and then decide those little things on how we're going to handle those particular transactions.
So in that example that you were showing, I didn't see, is there a way to just bypass them? Like you could just page to the next page?
Oh, absolutely, yes. So give me one quick second. So what I'm going to do is, for whatever reason I thought I had sent a large number of those documents. Obviously, it looks like only 2 made it there. So let me send some more there so that way we can all, go through different samples there. So let me see. do is I'm going to send all there. There we go. All right. So let me all right. So for example here, what you can do is if you want to move on to the next one, let's say this one, I do not want to review this one. I want to go to the next one. You can either, you can just simply go here. There's some arrows here. And that'll take you to the next image. And so on. That's how you can actually just leave those in your status and get back to those ones. For example, if AP decides that, yeah, it's okay, you can keep those invoices until they're truly ready to be paid, then yeah, you hold them. However, if they decide, no, we want to have control of those documents, we want to have an actual, view of those, let's send it over, even though they're not ready to get paid, just add your notes. So that's something that I'm going to have to consult with them and see what they want you guys to do. All right, so now are there any other questions before I go into the next subject in the web client? All righty, so now what we have here is a different way to search for documents, right? We have what is called an advanced inquiry. Let's say if for whatever reason a month from today, you want to review an invoice that you approved, or you just for whatever reason you need to get it back, or just to view it. You can definitely do that through the advanced search. Now, in that one, all you have to do, as you can see, instead of going to the workflow tab, just like we've been doing it, we go to the advanced search tab. There, based on your role, I think right now they haven't really decided who should have access to only what companies, or if you guys should have access to all companies that are in DocLink. Right now they're still deciding. Right now it's all test data, so it doesn't really matter. We're not live yet. But if down the line they decide, okay, this group of users should only have access to 2 companies, then on your view you will see that getting updated, right? You will only see, instead of right now you see all these 6 companies, then down the line you're like, maybe you only see 1, 2, or still maybe all of them, depending on what they decide. So again, I'm just letting you know that this part of your advanced search view may change. So now, next one is also based on permissions, what document types you have access to. And right now, approvers would only have access to AP invoices and credit notes. That's pretty much it, all right? Now, of course, if they decide that specific user or group of users will need, higher level of access, then yeah, definitely they'll let me know, or let the administrator know, and those rights should be updated as well. All right, so right now we have only AP invoices that I know of. So again, I'm just, this was a month ago, so I really don't recall it was what company was that. I'm just going to go ahead and select them all for now. Next is, of course, I'm looking for an AP invoice. I'm going to go ahead and check that box. Now, there's 2 ways. Well, there's more than 2 ways, but for now, it's like, okay, what if I don't remember anything, any of the properties? So this is why it's important to know at least a couple of the properties in case that you want to come back later and search for those documents, right? Because it will definitely help you narrow down your search to the document or group of documents that you're really looking for. Right now, let's go ahead and just cover the scenario where I don't remember any of the properties. I don't remember the vendor, I don't remember the date, nothing. What we can do is, I just remember a range of dates. I think it was sometime in November that I know I approved that invoice. All right. Well, what you can do is if you go here to additional criteria, filter by entry date, now entry date. That is when the document made it into DocLink. It's not the actual invoice date. You're like, well, how do I know that when I approved it was the actual entry date? Well, most likely AP will send those documents within 24 hours after they first enter those into the system. So you can be pretty confident that those documents, once you receive them, they're at the most, 2 days old that they have been in the system. So let's say, anything from the 20th to, today. And that's all I can enter because I don't remember any of the properties. Well, no worries. So once you have selected your company or companies, document type, and in this case, what criteria are you using to find those documents? The entry date. You go ahead and click search. So right now, as you can see, sure, right now we only have a few documents in the system because it's all test data. In a few months, we're not going to have 54. We're going to have hundreds, if not thousands of documents, right? So that's why it's important, again, to know a little bit of an invoice. If you can determine ahead of time that it's an invoice that you know for a fact that you're going to need to go back to DocLink to search for that invoice, I would definitely recommend you taking a quick note, like, vendor and invoice number, perhaps, and just the invoice number and the company. That would definitely help you get to that invoice right away. So here we go. We have a series of documents, and you can, start like looking at a few. For example, it's like, oh yeah, I think this one looks familiar with the invoice number. Then you just double click on it, and then you see the image. And of course, you can just adjust this once you are on your own view. And again, the properties are here, and the image it is here. So now instead of going through a file cabinet or through an email, all documents, that's the goal. Not, it's not going to be right away, but eventually that's the goal where all the AP-related documents should be stored electronically and not physically. So again, if for whatever reason you need to go back to a specific document, once they give the green light to go live, then this is how you would be, you would use to find those documents. So again, that's one way, right? What if I want to go back and it's like, you know what, I do remember one document, and I know, for example, in my case, I did, I used this, for example. I know I have a document that my invoice number was that, so I can, in this case, I can forget about the actual criteria, which is the entry date, because I have my invoice number. And I know there may be one, more than one invoice with this, perhaps a vendor, which would be a coincidence, but, it has happened where the same vendor, a different vendor uses the same invoice number. It doesn't happen quite often, perhaps, but it may definitely happen. But, it would be just a few. So go ahead and just enter that criteria there, click search, and what is it, TSP in that case? Oh, that's because I have AP credit number. And there you go. So now you see it's like, wait, so you only entered JR test. Why are you seeing the JR test too? Well, because right now DocLink is set up where it's accepting at least that value. I mean, at least one value. So what it means is that you don't really have to have the entire property, the entire value. If you just remember the first three letters of the invoice number, the first three numbers, or the first three letters of the vendor, then that would be enough at least to narrow it down from hundreds or thousands to only a few. So again, if you notice right there, I just entered JR test as my document number, the property for searching this invoice. And in my results window, I have, two that are identical here, but the one in the middle then obviously has a 2, so that is different. Yet I'm able to see all three right here. So again, that's some of the ways that you can find that. Now, you can also find your document, the invoice, based on a text, on an annotation of the invoice. Let's say, you know what, I don't remember anything. I don't remember the invoice number. I don't remember the vendor, nor date. How can I? Oh, but wait, I do remember that I added a note. Well, that could definitely be useful here. You can definitely enter the text of that note and go ahead and proceed with your search. And there it is. Okay, this is the one from today. And there's my note. So again, that's another way that you can find documents if for whatever reason, you just don't happen to remember any of the values, any of the properties, then you can definitely look by, search by the notes that you've added before. All right, any questions so far? All right, I'll take that as a note. Now, there's another option that we have implemented for approvers to review and approve their invoices, and that one will be via email. We're gonna turn that on once we go live, and based on the feedback that we get from you guys, we will determine whether that will stay on or not. Why is that? Because there's another option. That is that you get an email saying, hey, you have a so-and-so, you have this invoice ready for you to approve. And in that invoice, the actual image will be attached. The invoice will be as an attachment. So you can open that invoice from that attachment in that email. However, there's no data. There's no property such as invoice date, invoice number through DocLink, but you can see the image, though, the way it is. And from there, in the body of the email, you will see two links. One says approve or deny. If you click on the approve, obviously, DocLink in the background will automatically send that document to the approved status over to AP, and you're done approving that invoice. The caveat, well, not really the caveat, but the downside to that is it's one email per invoice. So again, if you get 30 invoices, then yeah, that would equals to 30 emails. Again, based on Caitlin or Susan were mentioning, like I think still better than having you guys print it, scan it, and send it back to AP. Again, that one will be just already activated, and we'll get your feedback. So that would be option B. If you don't want to, or if you cannot use the web client for whatever reason, then you can just open that email from your phone and tap on the approve or deny link, and that will take care of your approval. But again, it's just the only downside to that is that it's one email per document. So what we're going to be doing tonight is, again, remember, until further notice, if you get an email from DocLink, it's all test data, okay? Even though if it looks like a real invoice, it's all test data. It's all dummy invoice, dummy data. We will be deleting everything the day before we go live. So for now, perhaps tonight, Susan will wanted me to email you guys all, send you an invoice to each of your workflow statuses, and you should be receiving an email perhaps tomorrow. So if you get that email where it says there's two links, approved, denied, go ahead and just try it out and see what you guys think. Again, it's pretty quick, it's pretty efficient. The only thing is just it's going to be quite a bit of emails. But at the end, you guys will have to balance, right? Which one is either that or the old way, which was just to print, sign and scan again. So I'll be doing that tonight. So expect some of you, because I don't think everyone yet is has been, accounts have been created in DocLink. So some may not get anything, but the ones that do get those are because they're obviously already created in DocLink, and you guys will be receiving that email that I'm telling you about, and go ahead and give it a try. Just either if it's on your phone, tap on the approve or deny, as well as you're opening that from your computer, from Outlook, just go ahead and click in the two options. You only have two, either approve or deny. So you'll be getting that. Expect that, so that way, not surprised to you. You expect some of the emails from DocLink coming your way pretty soon. So again, it's either or. You can either go into your web client and then approve them through here, just the way we cover it right now, or via email, right? It all depends which one, either based on the situation, or if you simply find it to be a lot easier just to approve it from your phone, or whatever from your email, that will work as well. Now, the last one that Susan wanted me to tell you about was what about if a user, perhaps an approver, is going on vacation next week? Who's going to take care of those of my documents? Who's going to approve them? Well, we're gonna try to really have a backup for each of you guys' approval process. So that means that the backup will also be part of the same workflow status, meaning that backup will have access to your documents in case that you're not around, if you're on vacation, whatever the case may be. The backup will always have it will have access to your workflow status, so that person can take over for time being, and then the documents get keep flowing through the workflow rather than just staying there until you come back. So again, we're still going to get together with Suzanne to go over the list of the users who should be the backup, and I think she said that she's going to contact you guys either in a conference call or independently via email, and so that way you guys can tell her who should be your backup, or call it that, and that way there's going to be more than one person in that workflow status, so that way there's always going to be someone processing those documents. Any questions? All right, I'm going to take that as a no. And again, I will be making this recording available in case that someone else, someone wants to go ahead and just play the first part when we were covering the actual approval process. It will be there. Now also documentation. We have two. We have one that is more specific. It's pretty short, but it's specific to your own process. And then we have the other one that is the PDF file. That one is generic, more detailed, broad, explanation of how the web client works. So again, if you guys have any questions, my email is right there on the invite. As you start using the system, you start playing with it. If anything comes up, like a question, a suggestion, please feel free to email me. And then if it's something that can simply be answered via email, I'll definitely do that. If it's something that will require a WebEx meeting, I will also be happy to do that as well. So if there's no questions, I basically, you guys return to your other items that you have to take care of, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jorge.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.